Middle East War. The night Iran's missiles reached Tel Aviv for years, Israel's air defense systems were seen as nearly impenetrable. From the Iron Dome intercepting short-range rockets to the more advanced Arrow and David sling systems designed to stop ballistic threats, Israel had built one of the most sophisticated defensive shields on Earth. Across the Middle East, that shield carried a powerful reputation. Missiles launched toward Israeli cities were often stopped mid-air. Explosions happened high above the ground, where interceptor rockets destroyed incoming threats before they could reach their targets. For a long time, many analysts believed that breaking through that system would be extremely difficult. But on one tense night, that assumption was suddenly shaken. Flashes appeared in the skies above Tel Aviv. At first, they looked like distant streaks of light cutting through the darkness. Then came the thunder of explosions. Moments later, smoke began rising from parts of the city. Videos circulating online showed fire and debris scattered across streets. Emergency vehicles rushed through neighborhoods while sirens echoed across the skyline. And a question quickly began spreading through military circles and international newsrooms alike. Did Iranian missiles just bypass one of the most advanced defense systems in the world? The events unfolded quickly. According to regional reports, Iran launched a wave of missiles and drones toward Israeli territory during the night. The attack appeared coordinated and large in scale. Israeli defense systems activated almost immediately. Interceptors fired upward, attempting to destroy incoming threats before they reached the ground. In many cases, bright flashes in the sky indicated successful interceptions. But not every missile was stopped. Several explosions were reported in and around Tel Aviv, Israel's largest economic center and one of the most heavily protected cities in the region. Emergency services moved quickly into affected areas. Firefighters battled burning vehicles and damaged structures, while rescue teams searched for injured civilians. Authorities later confirmed casualties and property damage, though the full scale of the impact remained unclear during the first hours after the attack. For Israelis watching the sky that night, the moment felt deeply unsettling. The idea that even a few missiles could slip through the defense shield raised concerns that the strategic balance in the region might be shifting. But the story of that night did not begin in Tel Aviv. It began earlier with escalating tensions between Israel, Iran, and the United States. For months, the region had been moving toward confrontation. Israeli leaders had repeatedly warned that Iran's growing missile and drone capabilities posed a major threat. Iran, meanwhile, accused Israel and its allies of carrying out covert attacks and airstrikes against Iranian targets across the region. The rivalry between the two nations had already played out through proxy conflicts in places like Syria and Lebanon. But direct exchanges between Israel and Iran had remained relatively limited. That restraint now appeared to be weakening. Reports suggested that prior airstrikes and covert operations had intensified the confrontation, eventually triggering a larger military response. When the missiles were launched toward Israel, many analysts viewed it not simply as retaliation, but as a signal that the confrontation between the two powers might be entering a more dangerous phase. Meanwhile, the United States was closely watching the situation. American military forces maintained significant presence across the Middle East, including bases in the Persian Gulf and nearby regions. Washington quickly expressed support for Israel's security while urging caution to prevent a broader regional war. But the presence of U.S. forces in the region means any major escalation carries global implications. If attacks begin to involve American installations or personnel, the conflict could expand rapidly beyond a bilateral confrontation. That risk is one reason international leaders reacted with immediate concern. Back in Israel, the night of the attack left a powerful psychological impact. Even though many incoming threats were intercepted, the few that reached their targets demonstrated a troubling reality. Modern warfare has become increasingly complex. Drone swarms, precision missiles, electronic warfare, and cyber capabilities are changing the battlefield. Instead of relying on a single strike, attackers may launch dozens or even hundreds of projectiles simultaneously, attempting to overwhelm defensive systems. Military analysts refer to this tactic as saturation. If enough missiles are launched at once, even the most advanced defense systems may struggle to intercept every single one. That possibility now sits at the center of the debate surrounding the attack on Tel Aviv. At the same time, the wider Middle East remains deeply interconnected. Iran has strong relationships with several armed groups across the region, including Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah possesses thousands of rockets capable of reaching deep into Israeli territory. If the current confrontation expands to include additional fronts, Israel could face threats from multiple directions at once. That scenario would dramatically increase the pressure on its defensive systems. Meanwhile, countries across the Gulf are also monitoring the situation closely. Energy infrastructure, shipping routes, and military bases across the region could all become potential targets if tensions escalate further. For global markets and international diplomacy, the stakes are enormous. The Middle East sits at the center of global energy supply chains. Any large-scale conflict could disrupt oil shipments, impact shipping lanes, and trigger economic instability far beyond the region itself. That is why diplomats around the world are now working urgently to prevent further escalation. Calls for restraint are growing louder. But history shows that once military exchanges begin, stopping the cycle of retaliation can be extremely difficult. And that brings the world back to the central question raised by the events in Tel Aviv. If Iranian missiles were able to reach the city despite Israel's advanced defenses, what does that mean for the future of the conflict? Some analysts argue that the defensive shields still performed effectively, intercepting the vast majority of incoming threats. Others warn that even a small number of successful strikes could alter strategic calculations. Because in modern warfare, perception can be as powerful as reality. If adversaries believe that a defensive system can be penetrated, they may become more willing to test its limits again. For now, the region stands at a dangerous crossroads. Missiles have already crossed the skies. Cities have already felt the shock of explosions. And military forces across the Middle East remain on high alert. Whether the coming days bring de-escalation or further confrontation remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. The night Iran's missiles reach Tel Aviv may become a defining moment in the evolving power dynamics of the Middle East. And what happens next could reshape the region for years to come.